If tomorrow all the things were gone, I'd work for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife. I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Central Valley Talk. I'm your host. My name is Ray Johns, and the name of the show is Voices Not Yet Heard. And like we say every week, perhaps this will be the day where your voice will get heard. I want to talk to you about a couple of things that happened to me this week. About 10 days ago, I joined GB3, and I've worked out ever since that time. And I met two outstanding individuals. Three of them were very, very liberal. They're all brilliant and young. And three of them were ladies, and they were very, very in sync together. And the other one was a young man from India. But before I do that, let me give a shout out to GB3. Now, there's a reason that it's the number one club in this town, and I'll tell you what it is. It's the people that work there. That's what it is. George Brown he's a genius. He's like Henry Ford when they asked him back in the 30s, what makes you a genius? And he said, I'm not a genius. He said, I just surround myself with geniuses. Donald Trump, perfect example. Look at his cabinet. Anyway, these two people they made my day. They really did. They made my day. We were all in the sauna. I go to the sauna every single day afterwards, and it's wonderful, Gary. I just love it. Anyway, we were sitting in the sauna, and they, of course, saw my Trump shirt because I wear it there every day like I do. And they said, one of the young ladies said, she was Hispanic, and she says, how could you possibly be for Trump? And I said, you have a problem with Trump? And she says, yes, I do. And the other two, of course, agreed and said that they did too. And I said, where did you get your information? And one of them said, I was listening to CNN, and I heard somebody, and the other one said, you know what? I read that in the Boston Globe or the Wall Street Journal, whichever one. And the other one said, I saw it on, I think it was Lemon's talk show. And so I started laughing, and I said, you realize, first of all, that over 80% of the things that you see on TV and hear on the radio and read in the newspapers is false news, at least that, and very possibly more than that. You're not getting the real truth. And I tell people this all the time. Do your due diligence. That's what you do. Do your due diligence. Don't take any words from anybody. Don't do that. Anyway, the young man was from India. I'm going to have him on the show. The man, he's just a delight. He's probably 25. And he was telling me how people in India love this country. They just love it because they have a country where you can only go so far, he said. And then you're stifled. The government won't allow you to go any further. And if you get any perks, you're very, very fortunate. And he said most people do not. And he said he came over here with his parents. They have a store. I don't know, it was probably 15, 20 years ago. He has graduated from Fresno State. He has gone through the graduate program. He has a master's degree in business, and he's working with his parents to improve and he told me some of those. I'm not going to tell you, but he was just a delight. And he said, I love Donald Trump. My whole family loves Donald Trump because this makes more opportunities from people from my country to come over here legally. Just a brilliant young man. I wanted you to know that. I was really, really impressed with him. I mean, you have a choice in this world. You can sit on the couch and drink Heineken beer and eat toasted almonds and watch TV and base your opinion on what you heard, or you can go do a little due diligence and find out for yourself. To me, it's not a question. Gary Miguel is going to talk to us today about the Paris withdrawal, because I know all of you would like to hear something about that. And please, by the way, if you're watching me right now, I'm live, okay? The number will appear on the screen. call in. We want to talk about that, and we know there's a lot of people out there that really want to talk about this, and we've got a great man here to talk about it. So I'm going to turn it over to Gary, and he's going to explain this to us.
Well, first, Ray, those two gals that you're talking about, that's part of the propaganda machine that is going out with major media.
Oh, I know that.
And it's effective. Obviously, you see those two girls.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's look at it this way. They want what's best for them, but they don't know what's best for them.
They don't know what's best.
And
I mean,
that's the bottom line. Nobody wants things bad for them, right?
Oh, no.
But they don't know what's best for them.
So many minorities. I heard so many minorities say during the campaign, "Oh man, you got to vote for Hillary Clinton. You know, she'll look out for us." You know. Yeah, well.
Well, I'll tell you what, if she was there right now, there'd be a big march out to, about this time of year, out to Huron. That's that forced labor, how they get rid of it.
Absolutely.
Stalin did it to the tune of 56 million people
Yes.
cut.
Yeah.
He got rid of 56 million
Isn't that
of the.
unbelievable? People don't know.
They don't realize that.
Yeah.
That's the useful idiots that they need, like those two girls. Those are I mean, that's their turn, not mine.
Yeah, I know.
They're the useful idiots necessary to get to a communist control.
Oh yeah, they got to have somebody on the bottom to do it's forced.
Every
forced
every
labor.
country does that,
Yeah.
and they do it through propaganda and do it through education
Sure
system
they do.
by indoctrination. So we are at a certain level. Fortunately, Trump come along. Otherwise, I mean, we'd be headed straight out.
We don't know how fortunate we are.
Absolutely.
Donald Trump came along. I mean, my
Right,
goodness.
and you know, if you look at if you studied it all and then look what it'd be with Hillary because of what she was headed and with her people and the people involved, which are still very powerful. You know, that's that deep state.
Yeah.
Man, I'll tell you, people right now, United States would be heading south. I mean, in a handbasket. But you know, I don't know. A lot of that, I've kind of gotten to a point of this. Okay, you've got all those people that believe like those gals. Okay.
All because of what they hear, see, and read.
Right. Okay. So then you sit there and you think about it, and then you say to yourself, what needs to be done? Well, if we have the guy in there that is getting it done, and he was elected by the majority, that means these people lost.
Yeah.
Even though they believe like they do, you just get to a point where you just go on and do what you have to do that is
Exactly
best
what
for,
Trump said. You know,
Yeah.
I'm so tired of thinking and saying to these.
You're not going to please those people.
I call them useless idiots.
Well,
yeah. These useless idiots.
You're
I'm
right.
so tired of telling these people, grow up. You lost. You know, the game is over. Okay,
Well-
we just played the ninth inning and you lost.
Well, and you lost for a reason.
Yeah.
You lost because enough people had enough common sense to realize what was good for you, you didn't know was good
they
for
didn't.
you.
No, they do not.
You better thank your neighbor that did vote for Trump. Don't come up to me and say, you better thank me.
Yeah.
Because basically you've been saved and you don't realize
They don't
it.
even
You
know it.
No.
That is it, Gary. I mean,
Well, you frustrate yourself trying
Well-
to do it. Just say it like this: I won it, and that's enough. I'm
yeah.
getting on the bus and I'm going home. I mean, it's like a team. You go in there and you won the game, right?
Yeah.
You win by one run in the 11th inning.
Yeah.
And boy, all of a sudden, well, if you get on the bus and go home.
That's
you
right.
won.
It's it.
And that's the same thing there.
That's the way I look at it.
Yeah,
I do.
the
That's
way
a
I
great
look-
analogy.
Well, the way to look at it too is look. You know what? You either catch up or you stay behind. It's not my responsibility
No.
to drag you along. It's your responsibility to catch up.
You know, I thought
You
about
know.
something this week, Gary, before we talk about the Paris departure. We need more leaders in this country. And somebody said to me, they said, well, you know, we can't all be leaders. And I said, yes, we can. There's a lot of definitions
Absolutely.
that we can all be leaders. You
Yep.
know, and we need more leaders because we certainly have way too many followers.
Absolutely, they're sheep. You know, it's like basically what they are. But no, you just go in there and just you'll drive yourself crazy. Otherwise, just say, wait a minute, I got to go. I won the game. You know,
I'm
in
going
one
home.
run,
Yeah.
and I'm getting on the bus, and there's nothing more about it.
Yeah.
Now these people.
That's kind of the way Trump's looking at it.
Well,
know,
you
see what
have
he does.
to.
Yeah, he's just
You-
going
anything,
straight ahead.
with anything.
He's not, he's not letting us.
Absolutely. No.
These are all like little side
Well, they're irritants.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's like an elephant when you got those birds pecking all over. They're just there. He scratches back, fleas and whatever. They're like fleas. Okay. So the way I look at it, either catch up or stay behind.
That's why I don't watch.
But you're not
I refuse to watch those. I won't watch CNN. I don't need to
Well,
watch
no,
it. I
why
don't
would
need to. I had somebody tell me one time, "Well, I watch it because I want to know what's going on." I don't want to know that.
I don't want to know what's going on with CNN. I want to know what's going on.
I have no. It doesn't. It benefits me not at all.
CNN is a.
I mean,
it's a huge prop. It's the number one propaganda machine.
Yes, it is.
And it's communist controlled by communist thinkers. I mean, they don't call themselves communists, but that's what they are. But it. And that's the way it is with so much, but you got to get into this thing at this point because of where America was headed we were going to go down.
Oh, I know.
But it was going to affect the world adversely.
Yeah.
So now what we have is a hope for people and a totally different thing and that brings us to the Paris Agreement, okay? Now, the way to look at that Paris Agreement without getting technical, without getting into all that.
Just very simple.
Just very simple. Think of it as two totally separate things.
Okay.
Okay, and number one would be the global warming or that part of it. Okay, and number two would be the money part of it. Okay, now just think of that and the people and everything. It's just cut it in two. Over here's the global warming, and over here's the money.
The money.
Right. Now the Paris Agreement was not about global warming.
It was about the money. I can almost guarantee you.
100%.
Yeah.
100% about the money, okay? Well, this agreement had been signed, I guess, when Obama, and it was totally in everyone else's favor but the United States. And
let's not say his name real loud. Okay, I'm sorry, Gary. I just had to say that.
But the 100% of it is all about the money, and it was all skewed one direction.
Yeah.
But Obama didn't care because he's hooked up out of Chicago with the bank and the Gores, the Al Gores. I had a list of the names of people that are all benefiting by this agreement.
Oh.
Financially.
No doubt.
They figured that this is going to cost Al Gore alone $15 billion.
Him alone?
Over the course of the years.
Yeah.
Just him alone. Of what he gets a cut out of this. It gets more involved. I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm so glad you're telling them this. So it makes you understand what's going on.
Well, Wall Street, you're looking at $400 billion over a period of years. Well, who was going to be paying for all that? China didn't have to.
No.
And India didn't have to. As far as CO2
and they're the two biggest.
carbon.
They're the two biggest countries on the planet.
And they didn't. They don't have to fool. But it was all coming out of the United States taxpayers.
There you go.
And
people are screaming and
it
yelling.
Was moving the wealth from the United States and transferring it. Of which, in the meantime, Wall Street. Just the commissions alone on handling the amount of money that's transacted with the different companies involved with it, it's all a hoax. Okay, so let's go to the global warming side of our equation. Over here with the money.
Okay.
So we got this money thing. So what do we do to get all this money? Let's say, in this case, $3 trillion over a course of the United States taxpayer.
Unbelievable.
How do we go about it? We have to create a hoax. Well, how do we create a hoax that has some plausibility? What we do is appeal to one thing and one thing only, that's all needed, is the emotions of the useful idiots.
That's what happened.
And that's it. So then now let's
Great point. Yeah.
So when you get down to the common sense of it, there is no common sense to this part, the emotional part. But it's enough of a story, if told enough, and propagandized through just these mentions.
Just like they do, they're going to believe it. They heard
it. And who is more subject to an emotional response than a libtard?
Oh, absolutely.
You're not going to find a person that's not they're not going to buy that. But they are emotionally, because that's back to that mental, I call it a mental disorder.
He explained.
And they appealed it to
He
that.
explained it was bad. It's a bad deal for the American
Right.
people, financially, a terrible deal.
So let's just go back and see if we can't. We're going to appeal to this hoax.
Exactly.
That's all it's been. Okay, let's talk about the CO2.
Okay.
Okay, let's talk about the world, and we can't even imagine. You know that 50 million years is a short period of time in the minds of a geologist. 50
Oh, I
million
can imagine.
years.
Yeah.
Now look at a man's lifespan. I mean, you blink your eye and that's it
gone.
compared.
Sure.
And that's 50 million. It's considered recent. We go back millions and 50s and millions and
Yeah.
my God, who knows where. But here's one thing to think about that kind of clears it up for me. If you look at the planet Earth and you think what we had, let's just go down that. We're drilling oil in sand. We're drilling oil in ice caps, right? We're drilling oil in the ocean, right? Ray, we're drilling oil in places there's nothing.
Yeah.
Well, how did the oil get there? Because at one time there was something.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Sure.
The Gobi Desert, at one time was a rainforest jungle
Yeah.
for millions and millions and millions of years. You know what the CO2 is estimated to have been at that time?
What?
4 times higher than what it is here today.
Oh my goodness.
CO2 is a function necessary for life.
Yes.
So what are these people doing? The CO2, based on that time, and those animals were big. You
Yes.
know, everything was big, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
I mean, my God.
dinosaurs? Are you kidding? They were
Was
like
that-
houses.
How could they be that? And how could they have CO2 levels at that level and be like that?
Yeah.
It was flourishing. It created, there was jungles where the Sahara Desert is today.
Oh, I know. I
Where
know.
it's oil under there because of the
Sure.
amount of vegetation and that ended up being
Millions and
compressed and made
millions of
into
years.
yeah, millions of years ago. But then you say, well, man, this Earth must have been. Oh yeah, it was like flourishing, right?
Well, can you imagine how
If it was like,
absolutely gorgeous it was?
well, you could imagine, you know, and then all of a sudden, if there was such thing as a person that's seen it then and then seeing it now and says, oh man, you guys got to get your CO2 level up,
Yes.
not down. So it's kind of like you got two things. Okay, let's talk about that. At one time, majority of the people thought the Earth was flat.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you, was that a belief or reality?
It was they believed it, and it wasn't a reality, but they believed it. They certainly believed it.
Okay, that's my point. You know, so what I'm getting at, a belief is a belief, not necessarily
Not
reality.
necessarily a reality.
So what is the reality? The Earth is round,
Yeah.
right? Not flat. But the belief was it was flat.
Oh, for years
So
and
with,
years.
so with it, let's talk about global warming.
Uh-huh.
And they thought, well, these scientists are in for it for the money, and there are some that are not in for the money.
But there are some that are. That's
Well, of
what-
course,
yeah.
because they get grants.
Sure they do.
What else better way to get a grant? If I'm a scientist, man, I need a grant. What do you need to hear? Oh, let's talk about global. Oh, yeah, okay, good. They give me go study something, right?
Yeah.
But if you look at get down and look at some of the scientists that I put credibility on, because I have to look at what is the reality and what is the belief. So people sitting there believing that it is essential that we have this Paris Accord and so forth are the same people that believed at one time the Earth was flat.
Same mentality. I understand
Same exact
that.
mentality,
Yeah.
same emotion. Why would they believe otherwise?
Yeah.
Because that's all they've been told. So then, if I'm in this thing to make money, wouldn't it be nice to get these people to believe that? Gore has absolutely made billions because of.
It's the same old story.
Yeah,
It's the same old story.
yeah.
You know.
So when you look at the accord and what Trump and his team did, they spent months and months researching every detail as to that agreement and how it was adversely affecting the United States.
Gary, I want you to hold that thought, okay? We're going to take a little break. This happens every time he comes on the show. We're 20 minutes in it, and we didn't even know it because he always has something great to say. Love having him on. Anyway, we're going to take a little break, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back in 2 and 2.
Stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Okay, I'm back, and of course with Gary, and I had to cut him off, and I'm sorry. I'm going to let him continue. Gary?
Yeah, well, in review, we'll just, because it's not that complicated.
Yes.
Because the average person, let's face it, the average person is not going to really dig into a lot of these things.
Oh, that's why.
So that's why we have elected people to
Yeah.
do it for us. I mean, like in this case, Trump and his team spent months and months researching this agreement.
He's got experts around him. You
And
don't
he's
think
got the top there is.
These exactly.
Okay, but there's one underlying thing, and this is all the public has to really think about. Underlying all that is one thing, and that's what every one of those people that he has there has in mind as they go through each item bit by bit. Is this good for the American people?
And that's basically what he said. And
Piece by piece by piece. They go and read this paragraph. Oh, wait a minute. Is this
believe
good
me, they are
for
thorough.
the American people?
Yeah.
They're number one. So they just keep going down that path. Okay, what is good for the American people? Let's put that in. What is this? Nope, that's not. Okay, what's that? Yep, that number one is the American people. Totally different than a politician, which is 99.9%, because Trump's the only one not bought.
for himself.
When he says, is this good for who's paying me?
That's
Is this good for
exactly.
the company that's representing? Is this good for this? Is this good for me to get reelected?
Yeah.
Never once talking about number one. Well, number one is the American people.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple. You don't have to be
No,
that
you
bright to
don't,
figure it
you know.
out. Just like people sit there will say, well, I got my car. Well, who's he for? Well, yeah, he's doing some stuff and this, but that's not his number one. What if it was you that was number one? Wouldn't that change your attitude a
right
little
it would.
bit?
You
When
doggone
somebody
right it
sits there and says, no, it's you, it's number one. No, you're in there and you're gaining some benefit, hopefully, but you're not number one.
Let me tell you something I thought about, Gary, and I'm sure you'll agree with me. You know, these people, it's so simple to me. These people are not going to fool Trump. They're not, you know?
Well,
They're
no,
not.
because
he's too smart. He knows exactly how to get a...
Well, and there's others just smart like him, but they all did it that way, not their way.
Yeah, exactly.
In other words, they're
And
smart because they built companies. They built something.
I'd
You
be
know?
willing to bet that he recognized this even before. Well, of course, they had all that research. So he went there, and then he took another look at it, and he said, "Oh my goodness, what I thought is true." You know.
Oh yeah, when
You
they
know?
did, yeah, he got a tremendous amount of input from all kinds of different
Yes.
angles, from scientists, from this,
Yes.
from different countries. Listen, they ran that thing through with a fine tooth comb, but there's underlying it. But is that good for the American people? Is that good for the American people? If it is, it is. If it isn't, nope, got to throw that out.
That's the bottom line of what he's for. So
Well,
if
it's
he-
simple, and it's a two thing. Just think of this. Over here is the hoax. Over here is the fake, I call it fake news, the
Yeah.
propaganda that deals with the emotions of people. That's the belief. They still think the world's flat.
I got to tell you something. I get these dings, which means that you have a message on my phone.
Yeah.
And some of them come at like 5 o'clock. I got to figure out a way to stop it, but because I'm not well versed with this darn thing. But anyway, they come and it's really funny. The other night, it said ding, and I always pick it up because it might be an emergency of a friend or something. So you never know. So I picked it up and I looked at it, and it was CNN, and I could tell without hitting it that they had started just badgering Trump on the withdrawal. Right? I lay back down, it dings again, and it's Fox. Exact opposite. Exact opposite.
Oh, really? Wow.
Unbelievable.
Well, you know, the thing you have to keep in mind there is that we're talking about the deep state. You got to remember CNN, and we can MSM, and all
those.
all the alphabets. You know.
Yeah, all the alphabet. That's a good way to put it.
Okay, they are owned. They are not they are owned by the people who benefit.
Soros being one of them.
Well, Soros being one of them. I mean, go to the those never Trump Republicans.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I
Whole bunch of
mean,
them.
my lord, it's both sides. They're a uniparty, which
Sure.
means that they're both in bed together, but they call
Yeah.
themselves this and that. we're talking about deep state people.
Yeah.
The bureaucracy,
Yeah.
the EPA people, and all that. We're talking about billions and billions. In fact, we're talking about trillions of dollars that is not going to go to those people.
That's why they're fighting so hard.
Well, sure.
It's
But where's
exactly
the $1 trillion
why they're
going to go? It's going to go to the American people. It's that simple.
I just wish people would realize that.
Well,
Gary. I mean, my goodness, man.
Well, of course
if he
you
made
would.
that decision, I can guarantee you it's the right decision.
Well, here's
know?
the thing. You can look at it this way from that standpoint, Ray. There's a certain level that these people are right in the schools.
I know that. That's where it
Forget
started,
education. That has nothing to do. They ought to say, well, Department of Education. No, the Department of Indoctrination.
Yeah.
So what you got to do is beat these people enough. I don't care if it's one vote. You lost.
Yeah.
And then you got to go on and doing what is the right thing to do, which is what? I'm going out there to do what? I'm going to go out there and make myself. No,
The bottom line with Donald Trump is when he said I'm going to make America great again. That's what he's doing.
That's all he cares about.
Exactly. That's all he cares about.
Yeah.
Like you said, he went item by item. No, this is out. This is in.
But you got
with the experts surrounded
there
by
you
experts.
Go. Experts. Why are they experts? Because they have proven themselves in the rough and tumble, real world, not the fake world of government dependency. They've proven themselves in survival of the fittest.
Exactly why he chose them. He's excellent at putting the right people in the right position.
That have survived in the rumble tumble, so they know what they're doing. Now you got these guys that have got a job, government dependency, a civil servant. You can't compete with that kind of thinking. They can't even. They're not on the same wavelength. So if I'm sitting there as a benefiting from something, who am I going to look for? Well, I'm going to go listen to. I'm going to go listen to that bureaucrat. What have you ever done? He sits there at the desk and he rose up, and now he's just as crooked as they are. But by God, that's
I love it. And it's true. He's just as crooked as them.
Just as crooked as all the rest. Oh, but I'm voting for him. No, I'm going to go with the guy that went and started from nothing and did this and did that and built this company. And these are the people that know what they're doing.
You're doggone right. And that's what this country's based on.
And that's what
exactly
it is.
That.
Of course.
That's why Donald Trump is such an ideal president.
This is not a nation of the meek and mild.
No,
this
it's
is
not.
the home of the brave, my friend.
I've said it, man. We need more leaders, man. You better step up to the plate.
Well, I mean, they're cranking out these girls, snowflakes, and what these girly boys, that's all. That's about all they come out of there to be. And there's no fight. There's no roughness to them.
No.
They're like a bunch of meek meows.
Anytime somebody, this is perfect what you said. And listen to this. Anytime they want to change a sport so that everyone gets a trophy, everyone gets. I mean, can you imagine everybody? My goodness, what's the purpose? What's the purpose of playing?
Well, the purpose the purpose is that we just take all the incentive out of everything, and we become. Actually, what we become is we come to expect being dependent on something because we've never achieved anything. What the heck? I go out there, I can't hit. I strike out every time, and I fumble every ball. But Ray, boy, he goes in there and he hits home runs. We both get a trophy.
Terrible, isn't it? I would be very upset if I hit 17 home runs and the next guy to me only hit 10 or 11 and we both got trophies.
Yeah.
I would be very upset
Well,
about
of course.
that.
And so what happens is that's the way Americans are supposed to be.
Exactly.
But if you've been brainwashed to thinking, well, by God, I feel pretty apologetic about having so much talent.
Yeah.
Well, they make you feel guilty.
Yeah.
Boy, well, Ray, that was not fair to you. Be born with that talent to hit them 17 home runs. So what we're going to do, you think about it, and you say, man, I feel guilty about myself. And so what did you do next time? Well, I only knocked 10 instead of 17.
Which is definitely not me. But
you see how you dumb it down? And so you get the whole nation thinking that.
Sure, and that's the purpose.
That's right. So when you look at this agreement, it has tremendous, profound effect, not just the money, but emotionally, because it really does divide that, and it takes this side of the people who buy in it, I call them the flat Earth people.
Oh yeah,
they still believe it.
Oh yeah,
though that's
I
not
love
reality.
that term. Great term.
And then you got the money, which is the people who are involved, the deep state.
Special interests, I like to call them, yeah.
And that's right, the special interests. They establish a uniparty that both Republican, Democrat, and high-level government employees, bureaucrats, right?
Yeah.
They're making millions out of this. Who else? Wall Street. Who else?
Oh, of course,
Banks.
Wall Street, yeah.
I mean, and
They're all
then
a part
who
of it.
else? Go over to Europe and see who's getting rich. Look at those countries. Look who they're led by. Look what are they getting. You think that you think those people are like Trump? Oh, I'm France first. Or Cambodia first.
Yeah,
No, they're in it.
exactly, Gary.
So what you have to do is try and if you want, you mentioned the due diligence. Why don't you just do some due diligence with yourself and just look at yourself and say, hey, am I on this thing? Am I thinking this thing right? Don't just because you're not doesn't mean you can't change your mind.
That is ladies and gentlemen, that is absolutely great advice.
Yeah.
Take a look at yourself. Take a look at what you think about all this. Great, Gary.
Yeah.
That was brilliant.
Yeah.
Take a look at what you think about all this. Research yourself for a few minutes. Like Gary said, do due diligence on yourself. Find out why am I thinking this way.
Well, sure. I mean, I've changed my mind about things a lot of times.
I have. So have I.
And that's what I call growing. And so you're sitting there and you're thinking a certain way, and why don't you just ask yourself this much? You don't have to even get too far with it. Just say, well, just about everything there's always the other side. So why don't I do this? I'm thinking this. Why don't I look at the other side? I mean, I say, oh man, I don't want any part of that. I'm right back here. That's fine, but look at the other side. And you'll find that there's times when you're going to change your mind or change your thoughts about a certain way, and that means that you're having personal growth. And let's face it, remember when Trump said that number one is for the American people?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're an American people, why don't you think of yourself as number one?
Great statement.
And quit being led by like a sheep.
Yeah.
Don't be the sheep. Be the goat that goes up and leads the sheep.
Stand up to the plate.
Yeah.
Be a person.
Right.
Not a follower. Be a leader. We can't have too many leaders, okay? And I loved what that kid said. Well, everybody can. Yes, we can. Everybody can be a leader.
Well, I tell you what,
it
it gets down to. You could be a leader of one.
Sure.
And that's
absolutely. Yes.
Be a leader of one.
Yeah.
Don't be the follower of some stupid emotion that you too lazy to look into or something. Why don't I just take?
Why allow someone else's opinion to influence you to the point where you're not really sure what you're doing? And that's what's happening with a lot of them.
Right.
Well,
no matter what goes on now as terms of this agreement. Now, Trump he leaves it open. He says, we'll negotiate. But he's not going to negotiate it in favor of anybody but America first.
Exactly.
He's not going to do it for the bankers of America. He's not going to do it for the Wall Street of America. He's not going to do it for the politicians of America. No. He's going to do it for the mainstream America.
Everyday American. Absolutely.
Everyday American. That's it.
Yeah.
Because you know why? He has no reason not to. He cares less. He does care about the mainstream America.
Yeah.
And that's who's going to benefit.
Gary, you hold that thought. We're going to come right back.
Sure.
We're going to take a little break here and pay some bills. We'll be back, ladies and gentlemen, and say 2 and 2.
Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say.
Okay, we're back, and before I turn it back over and Gary continues his wonderful talk, we've got this giant tortoise here at the studio, and he's great. He just crawls around all over the place, and you got to go looking for him, and I just love him. I call him T, and anyway, for obvious reasons, Anyway, he's really cool. I walked out a while ago, and I was behind him, and he didn't see me, and I said, hey, T, and boy, you should have seen him. He snapped his neck. He was getting ready, I think, to go into a shell. But anyway, I just thought I'd pass that on to you, Gary.
I did that. I call him Titus.
Oh, do you? So my T is really
Oh,
appropriate.
yeah.
He's great.
When you
though.
said that, I thought, man, I call him Titus.
He's
So
great, isn't he?
yeah. Oh,
I
my.
just-
Yeah,
I love him.
he's got a good personality.
He does. He's got a great personality.
But
T. I thought maybe I'd
Right.
call him Mr. T, but that's already taken, so I'll just call him T. Anyway, Gary.
Well, I think, Ray, what we were talking about is important in the sense that, let's face it, people aren't going to get involved in it. They're just going to go by what they hear on CNN, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
When I say that,
That's
I'm talking
so
about
sad to me.
fake news, you know.
Yeah.
But if that's what they are, that's all we can do. All thing you could hope for is just think about this. Global warming could have been easily called global cooling.
Sure.
We would never know the difference.
No.
Because we got temperatures that, oh my God, we set records that got so cold in New York, never been ever for the last 100 years. Oh, it got so warm down there. So it could have very easily been called either one, right? And would we know the difference?
You know,
course not.
some things are just plain silly. You know, and I almost don't want to even bring this up, but I met a guy the other day, and he said to me, I mean, obviously a liberal. He says, well, you know, what I read all the time from scientists, you know, he says, I read science-type magazines, you know. That kind of told me something right there. But anyway, he said, and so I'm kind of an expert. He says, I've heard that probably my grandchildren won't have any water. Our water supply will dry up. And I couldn't help but say, and I said, have you heard of the oceans of the world? You know, water supply will not. They've been changing salt water to fresh drinking water for years.
But if you
Believe me,
think
won't
about
happen.
it, there's a tremendous amount of arrogance in that,
Yes.
along with insecurity.
Oh, of course. That's
Arrogant
red.
thinking that man could do something about it,
Yeah.
and insecure thinking it's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, that's it.
You
like
know.
right now.
Oh,
Yeah.
And they think that they're arrogant in the sense that they think they can do something about it. You can't do anything about it. My God, there was a lot of things here before you were walking around on too.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
No one's done it yet.
No, and so that kind of thinking. You got to be a liberal to think like that, though. Of
course
if
you
you're
do.
not, you're not going to think that way.
Absolutely.
But you got to have a liberal in order to sell this hoax. That's just one of many, but that just says take that one. That's a big one. There's trillions and trillions involved in this, and it affects. Let's get back to the scientists. Okay, I'm going to be a scientist. Boy, I go to school, going to be a scientist, study to be a scientist. Now I got to go get a job. Who in the hell's going to hire me? Mm-hmm. What do they want me for? Well, I get a grant. So, boy, to get that grant, who's giving me that grant? Well, the government. Who's the congressman and stuff that made this possible? Well, he's a liberal. Boy, I better think like a liberal. I better write this thing like a liberal.
See?
I want him to.
I'm going to need some more funding
Right,
down the road.
and I got to have. Well, I'm not going to write something the opposite of what he's telling me.
No. Exactly what happens.
I mean, you know, you got to look at all that way. I mean, yeah, there's scientists are needed. They invent tremendous things, drugs and stuff. And you know,
Sure.
I have nothing against scientists.
No.
But I also have to look at it and say, what is their intent and what is their motive?
Good and bad, like everything else. When it comes
Well,
down to
and
it.
then you just look and see who's funding that science. Okay, that liberal, he says, well, I read the science book. I said, who's funding him? You know, well, he wrote, yeah, but who funded that? Who's supporting that? And just track the money. It'll get right back down to something.
Sure it will.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
I don't have any I don't know, one way or another about stuff like that. You just got to use your own head and just look at it this way and say to yourself, you know, does it make really any sense that I should be sacrificing all this with this global warming BS when in fact it is BS? In fact, it would take, I forget how
Bottom
many
line.
years, if in fact it was true, to raise it would raise the temperature 1/10 or 0.2% or some ridiculous thing, if it was true.
If it were true.
In fact, there's enough evidence that we could bring up that says, wait a minute, it's not global warming we're having cooling, where ice is building in the North Pole. And in fact, Antarctica, they had to rescue some people that were global warming guys
I saw that. Yeah.
because there was too much snow.
It's a pretty ironic. Isn't it?
But here's the thing: if you'll find with a liberal like that, they worry about that. And isn't that awful to live your entire life where you got this crisis after this crisis, and it's all emotion, this emotional crisis after that. Oh, man, we're not going to have water in a few years and stuff like that.
Unbelievable.
I mean, it's just lack of common sense. It's a lack of self-respect.
And you, like you said, arrogance. This guy I talked to, I mean, he was an expert. He read science magazines.
Oh, they come at you with that type of stuff, and when they do that, I says, hey, too much school, damn fool. You know,
Yep.
It's hard to respect anybody that comes up with stuff that is not based on reality. At the same time, well, if it was wrong, come back and say, you know what? Yeah, I was wrong about that, Ray. You know what? I thought that was 4 times as much CO2 back when the dinosaurs. It's 3 times, or something. Come on, you know what I'm saying? But I don't think that. I think that. And miserable people. I mean, how do you live like that guy you're talking about? How in the world does he live with himself day in and day out? He's worried about this. I mean, he's mad at this. They're all angry. You ever seen a liberal that wasn't angry about something?
About something,
Yeah. He's tremendously angry.
Attitude is absolutely everything.
You know.
Absolutely everything. If you live like that, God, you would only have to be miserable.
You know? Oh my Lord!
Everything that could
how
go
do they
wrong.
have any fun? Or how do they enjoy life? I don't know.
I know people that they worry about this. Well, I'd love to go over to Costco, but you know what? It looks like it might rain. Put on a raincoat and take an umbrella, for crying out loud. Don't allow the elements or anything else to control you, and that's what they do.
Well, and they let the media control them, and of course they know they can be controlled. Well, if you had a lot to lose, like these guys do right now on this agreement.
Are you kidding? If I'd been getting
I'd have
millions
I'd
of
have my
dollars,
radio station pumped up.
oh heck yeah, for years and years, and all of a sudden they're getting big. Guess what? Zero.
Right. Yeah. So, and they got these people like your buddy that you mentioned that are just. Well, they're just flat Earth people, is what they are. I don't care how much education they got.
No,
they might have degrees all over the place.
I don't think this guy was an idiot at all. I think he's probably pretty smart.
In fact, he'd be very smart in terms of being well educated and so forth. But
that doesn't matter. I mean,
common sense is always a gene. I wonder if it isn't a gene, but if you look at what you watch somebody, your friends that are, let's call them conservative or something. And you look at their common sense, and then you look at another one that's not, that's one of these libs. I call them libtards. I think they're missing a gene. They can't see it when you explain to them.
I got to tell you a story. I wrote a loan one time. Oh, it was years ago. When I was really doing, the mortgage business was not what it is now. But anyway, it was years ago. And it was down by Fireball, and it was, I'm not going to mention his name, but he's a very successful West Side farmer, And he was hilarious. I remember pulling up, and he was actually out, and he had about 4 tractors in the field, and he was driving one of them. And they were those expensive ones with the air conditioning and the radio and all the stereo and all that stuff. And he saw me, and he came over, and he got off his tractor, and this guy, his friend of his, showed up, who was also a big West Side farmer. They talked a little bit, and he left. And I said, man, he really is a nice guy. And he goes, well, I'll tell you, he said it just like this. He said, that old boy there, he says he's always picking his peaches before they're fuzzed up good. I'll never forget that.
Well, I think there's a lot of opportunity right now for a lot of people if they just go on the right course. And
I agree. Absolutely.
There's in fact, the jobs are coming back. And
yes.
Look at the market. My Lord, that's what I deal with. That's no way in the world you'd have asked me a couple of years ago the market would be where it is. No way in the world.
It's never been over 2,000.
Well, and I mean, come on. I mean, look at that. I mean,
unreal.
I remember when it used to hang around 750.
I mean, Gary,
now it's 20,000
just
plus.
the feel of people, Yeah. My pharmacy is out at Willow and Nees, and I was in there the other day, and I've become a real good friend with the pharmacist himself, and he had to come over. I got a new prescription and tell me what it was all about. Anyway, and he and I were talking, and he said, can't you just feel the mood of the country?
Sure.
And I said, yes, you can. I mean, you how could you not feel that this country is going in the right direction and going rapidly too,
Yeah.
by the way.
Well, how would you like to be this, though? How would you like to be a libtard and not enjoying it, missing out on the whole enjoyment, the whole opportunity, and the whole thing? Wouldn't that be, isn't that
It goes
sad?
back to what you said earlier.
Isn't that sad, though?
Yeah, it goes back to what you said earlier. You know, they don't know
What's good for them?
what's good for them. Great statement. Absolutely great. Oh, my goodness, ladies and gentlemen. Like we say every time Gary's on, he has so much great information that we start talking before we know it, it's gone. And that's basically what's happened today. And I'm going to ask Gary, as I always do, you can come back next week?
Well, Ray, I got to go to San Diego. Why don't you get that guy that you're talking about?
No, I've got him ready, yeah.
Oh, you got him?
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
I didn't
won't
know
be here.
that. Okay.
Well, I didn't know it either, but
Okay.
I got to go to a funeral down there next.
Then we'll see.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, we'll see you in a couple of weeks, maybe.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Couple of
We're
weeks for sure.
Okay, sounds great. I had to tell you a little story. There's a place where I walked to, and I just found it, and it's a wonderful place to walk. You walk over. It's a little park, and it's an oval-shaped park with big trees in it, and it's just a wonderful place to walk. And I walked from where I live to this place, which is a couple of miles, and then I go around the track anywhere from 4 to 8 times. Well, yesterday, when I left the park, there was a policewoman sitting there. So I walked up to the car, and she rolled the window down, and I told her what I ask you to do every week, and I do this all the time. I do it every day, but I'd done it already once that day, in fact. And I told her how much we appreciated her. I'm not kidding you. This is a policewoman. She got tears, and she said,
wonderful.
She says, we never hear that. And I started to take off, and she says, can I give you a hug? I said, absolutely. I mean, I wish people had been driving by and taking a picture. Here's this black guy hugging this white blonde lady, who's a policewoman, and let's appreciate these people. I mean, my goodness, man. They put their lives on the line every single day for us, every day. So when you see one, please go up, shake his hand, tell him how proud we are of him and how necessary they are and how much we so appreciate them.
But Ray, you done a tremendous service, because I never thought about it.
Thank you.
And I've started, like you said, to go do it. It is just an awesome
It makes
feeling.
you feel so good. Gary said a month ago
Yeah.
that he did it, and he said it makes
Well,
me.
now I see. I do that. And
I
so,
left that lady yesterday, and I tell you, she went back sitting her piece, and I continued on my walk, and the rest of my walk was better because of that.
Well, I really commend you for
Thank
making
you.
that suggestion to everyone, and keep repeating it, because it's just going to makes you feel good, I think.
They hear so much negative things out
Right.
there. People scream and yell and call them names, and it's just absolutely stupid
Well,
and
it's part of
ridiculous.
enjoying what America is now, what you're talking about. You feel good about it.
And it's I don't care who you are. I don't care how tough skin you are. When people say bad things to you, it pierces that tough skin.
You bet.
I know. I got tough skin, and believe me, I've been pierced. And it's not a lot of fun to have somebody hate you for no reason other than you happen to be a law enforcement officer, which I think is an honor. I do.
Right.
I think it's an honor. Anyway, in closing, let me say to you, until we meet joyously again next Friday at 3 p.m., heaven's blessings.
That I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died